Hello and welcome back to maybe the last episode of this series. Where we left off, we were handling our hotkey update like so. We didn't actually make this function yet. Now, the first thing I want to do before we continue is I want to get my HUD ref, I want to get my action bar settings, and I want to get my keybind mode. I'm going to do this so that basically you can't toggle your settings while you're in keybind mode, because that would be annoying, you know, if you wanted to press escape and remove the key, the hotkey. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do it like so. So let us head into our handle hotkey update. Inside here we have our local hotkey. We want to check if our local hotkey is equal to escape, and this is why we added the branch previously to our escape button toggle. If it is equal, we want to clear the hotkey. So let us make a new function. I'm going to call it clear hotkey. It's going to have an input of a key. This input will be called pressed key. And I'm going to promote that to a local. So local pressed key. We will get our HUD ref. We will get the game instance ref. And we're going to get the action bar settings. These settings, we are going to do a for each loop with break. We're going to loop through the entire array until we find the ID that coincides with our hovered slot. First though, I'm going to promote these to locals. So local found settings. Local found index. And then we can get to our branch, our condition. So let's break out this settings on the local found settings. Let's break that. See if the ID is equal to, and this is the hovered slot, remember? So let's get our HUD ref, get our hovered slot, get our inventory ref, and from that get our ID. Then we can plug it in like so. If this condition is met, aka it's true, we will break out. We will go into another branch where the condition is the same as the other one, out of completed. And if it is false, well, we're just going to return, nothing's going to happen. However, if it is true, then we're going to get our local found settings. We're going to split that, and then we are going to promote our settings keybind here to a local. So local found keybinds. Plug that into the true. We're going to get our HUD ref. We're going to get our hovered slot. And remember, we are removing the key. So now we're going to set hotkey to be blank. And then we're going to drag out of our hovered slot here again, and we're going to update hotkey. Now we need to save this information though. We need to save the fact that it has been changed. First things first, we need to update our array. So let's get our local found hotkey and let's set array element. We want to set it to be blank. We still want to size that to fit, however. Where do we want to set it to? Well, we want to set it to our hovered slot and get the index out of that. Now let us get our HUD ref. Out from our HUD ref, let us get our game instance ref. Let us get our action bar settings, and now we want to use that local index that we found previously. So we want to set array element. We want to split the item open. We want to size it to fit. The index is the found index from previously. So local found index. And now let us get the found settings. Split that, ID into ID, and so on and so forth until you get to the keybinds section where you're going to plug in the local keybinds. The local found keybinds, because we updated that previously over here, right? And that is it for that. After we have set the array element, now we can save action bars and we can return. This is going to handle our clearing of the key. let's plug in our clear hotkey. And we can add our local hotkey to the pressed key. And that is it. If I now hit compile and I play, I could not hit escape, and that is if keybind mode is false. Then we want to toggle it. Get to your keybinds. I can now hit escape over my button without actually leaving the keybind mode. And that is it for that. Now let us add the handle hotkey update and set the false conditions. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to look for the slot that has the same hotkey as the one we're pressing. We're going to do that by getting all widgets of class out on the false. Top level only is off. We're going to search for our WBP inventory slot, and we want to do a for each loop with break out of the found array of slots. I'm going to promote the array element to a local found slot and plug that into the loop body. And we want to check if the array element get hotkey from that. Check if the hotkey is equal to the pressed hotkey, so the local hotkey that we made previously here. If that is true and the condition is met, we are going to break out of our loop. We're going to break out of loop into a secondary check branch like so. If this is coming out as true, that basically means that we have a slot that is not empty. So we want to clear the slot that we found before we set the new one. And we're going to go through our false first though, because that one is a bit easier, because that's going to handle hotkeys on a empty slot. So let's make a new function, call it set hotkey on empty slot. It's going to have an input of the key variable. We're going to call it pressed hotkey. I'm going to promote that to a local pressed hotkey. We are going to, maybe we can actually borrow some stuff from here on our clear hotkey. Yes, on our clear hotkey, we can now borrow this entire section here. This first for each loop with break. We can borrow that. Plug it in like so. Right click your locals and create the local to fix that problem. And here we are basically doing this check where if it's the hovered key. If it is, well, we're actually gonna, it's actually a bit silly actually. I think we can actually steal everything from our clear. Steal everything from the clear. Just gonna remove this and paste it back in. Like so. We're gonna promote this to the local to fix that problem. However, we are not going to set it to be blank. We are going to be setting it to be the local pressed hotkey. Then we can update the key. We want to set the array index to have the key. Size that to fit. Save the action bars, and that should actually be it for our false here. So set hotkey on empty slot. Local hotkey. Plug it in like so. Let us go back to our handle hotkey and let us make the true one as well. So now on our true branch, we're going to make a new function. I'm going to call this one set hotkey on non-empty slot. It's going to have two inputs. One is going to be a key, so it's going to be our pressed hotkey. The other one is going to be the WBP inventory slot. That's going to be a found slot. I'm going to promote both of these, so found slot local. I know that the naming conventions go back and forth, with local being in the front or in the back. And local pressed key. Now it literally just went the other way around. Ignore that. So when we get our HUD ref, we're going to get our game instance ref. Out of our game instance ref, we can get our action bar settings. We could do a for each loop with break. We can, well, promote these. So local found settings. And the array index. Local found index. we can break our array element, check if the ID is equal to the local found slot. Get inventory ref. Get the ID. And then that is our condition. If the condition comes out to be true, we're going to break into another branch where the condition is the same. The false, we're just going to leave it. We are going to get our found settings. We're going to break it. Promote our settings keybinds to a local. So local found settings, local found keybinds. We're going to get our local found slot local. That actually is pissing me off. Local found slot. And we are going to set hotkey to be none. And then we're going to update hotkey on our slot. Then we are going to get our found hotkey, local found keybinds, I guess. Yes, local found keybinds. We're going to set array element. And we're going to set it to be blank. The index, we're going to get actually our local index here. We're going to find the local pressed key. And that is going to be our index. It's going to be blank, it's going to be size to fit. Then we need to save this, so let us get our href and our game instance settings and everything like that. We can set array element. We can size that to fit. The index is going to be the found index. The item we're going to break open, and then we can get our found settings, local found settings, and we can plug in the conditions as before, skipping the keybinds array. Because the keybinds array is the local found one. Now before we save, because this one is updating this one clears the one we found. So now we need to update the one for the new one. So let's steal this, the first for each loop with break. Plug it into the set array element. Here it's not going to be the local found slot, though it is going to be our href get hovered slot. Get the inventory ref. Oh, that's the item icon. Get the inventory. Plug it in like so to get the ID. If this comes out to be true, we're going to set the local found keybinds again to the local found settings. Split that. Get the keybinds. Now we can get our href hovered slot. Set hotkey. That is the wrong one. Set hotkey. What do we want to set the hotkey to? We want to set it to the local pressed key. Then we want to update hotkey. And we want to find our local keybinds again. We want to set the array element. This time we are going to set the array element to the hovered slot. Get index. Size that to fit. The key is going to be our local pressed key. And then we need to save this information. So get our href. Get your game instance ref. Get Actionbar settings. Set array element. Size that to fit. The index is the found index. Break the item open and plug in the items accordingly as before. So the keybinds is the local found keybinds, and the rest comes from the local found settings. ID enable max slots, max horizontal, vert pad, horde pad, slot opacity, action bar scale, position, name enabled, name and rotation, and then we can return. Compile that. Now set back and set hotkey on non-empty slot. Return after that one. The found slot is our local found slot. The hotkey is our local hotkey. And that should theoretically be it. Now if we play, keybinds, that is moving the keybinds around. It is updating them accordingly and removing them once they find the other ones. If I now press escape, we can also clear it. And if I now hit confirm, it's not escape, that is the button. You can also keybind that. I don't know why you would want to keybind your player inventory, but hey. I am going to set up a very simple use item at index at our hotkey before we end this series, and then there might be some bug fix videos later on. However, I do think this is the end for our Actionbar system once this video is done. So let us set up the last function, and that is just going to be a dummy handle hotkey press. So let's make a new function, call it handle hotkey press. It's going to have an input of a key. I'm going to call it pressed hotkey. It's going to be promoted to a local pressed hotkey. Now we're going to get all widgets of class. We're going to get our WBP inventory slot, not top level only, and we're going to do a for each freeze break. Promote this to a local found slot. Get the hotkey from our local found slot. Check if the hotkey is equal to our local pressed hotkey. That is true, that is our condition for our branch, and we are going to break out of our loop. That means we have found our slot into the secondary branch as always. And if this is false, that basically means that we haven't found anything, so we're just going to return. If this is true, however, we are going to validate our slot, so local found slot. We can validate that slot with our function, because we only want to be able to use an item at the index if there's an item to be used. If that is false, we're going to return. If that is true, however, we are going to use item at index, so let us get our AC inventory, and we're going to make it very simple. Use item at index, where the input is the index, obviously. Promote that to local index. And then we are going to spawn actor from class, split the transform. I'm just going to spawn it in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to get my contents, get item info at index. So where are you? There we go. We can not get our contents, get our item info at index, sorry. Plug in the local index like so. The class is the found one. We might want our HUD ref or something over on our master item. Not going to do that now though. I'm now going to set item info at index. The index is our local index. Going to set it to be the item. However, I'm going to set it to be the quantity -1. Then we can return. Our set item info at index, now I want to change that a little bit as well. After we set our array element, I do want to get our inventory contents. Actually, I can just get item info at index at the local index again. And I want to check if the quantity is greater than 0. If that is true, we're just going to continue. If that is false, then we're going to get our inventory contents. Set array element at the local index. Now we have 0 or less, so we're just going to set it to be that. Then go into our update slot. We can go back to our use, that is now fine. We can go back again to our third person character. After we validate this slot, we can now get our local found slot, and we can use item, get inventory ref, sorry, and use item at index. The index is the slots index, so get your local found slot and get the index from that, and that is going to use your item. I can return. Head back to your event graph. And now if keybind mode is false, well, then we want to handle our hotkey press. And the key is the same. Let us do a simple test to see that this is actually working. If I now go to handle hotkey press, now this is you're gonna have to make your conditions and everything yourself. I'm not gonna make the items for you. I am gonna make, however, a dummy one. So BP, that is not gonna work because that is theoretically a master item. So let us get the master item, create a child, BP health potion. That is not how you type that, but that's okay. I'm gonna call it health potion. Give it a placeholder. And now let us add our health potion. I'm gonna add 3 of them to demonstrate. On my health potion now, I am gonna do a event graph here. Now you can make this however you want. You can make a function to handle everything and stuff like that. I'm just gonna print that I used the health potion. Hello, the health potion got used. I can now go into my third hit play, spawn in my health potion, and let us, now I can't click anything because it's not on a hotkey. Let us get a keybind up. I'm going to keybind this to 4. And now the health potion is used until I am empty. And yeah, I think that is it for our system. If there's any bugs, we're gonna come back and fix them. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the series so far and liked the video if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you later. Bye bye.